Welcome to Binge Watchers, where we talk about the stories and characters we love and the shows they live in. My name is Ron, and let's talk about seasons 1 and 2 of The Fall. A man in Belfast, Ireland is killing successful young women. While technically the women are not raped, the crimes are very much sexual in nature. Detective Superintendent Stella Gibson is sent from England to investigate. I'm guessing Detective Superintendent is higher than Detective Chief Inspector? You know, because of the word super. The premise in The Fall is simple. A bad guy is killing women, a highly capable detective is sent after him. Much like Luther, The Fall takes a familiar story and tells it in a way that makes you feel like it's the first time you're watching it. The Fall is the definition of a slow burn drama. The show moves very slowly. For better or for worse, each episode feels like watching a movie. The show doesn't take any shortcuts when it wants to show you something. If a character goes into a room and they're looking for something, the show is going to spend a few minutes with that character walking around the room. I promise you that while watching the show, at least once, you'll kind of drift away and start looking at your phone or something, and in that exact moment, you'll miss something. So first, the characters. Gillian Anderson as Stella Gibson is a charismatic, brilliant, and powerful character. I felt that Stella was the driving force in this show. There are a few times when she's a little bit too good, but everything she does is backed up by police work, and you get to see that police work. I felt that The Fall wanted to make a point out of showing us the mundane part of detective work. The show takes you through the whole process. There are no leaps and very few lucky breaks. Nothing in this show comes easy. Paul Spector's character, wait, is that the guy from 50 Shades of Grey? Holy shit, it is. He really went from one side of the spectrum to the other with the whole sexual crime thing.
Weird and awkward sex dungeon and made you explore your weird sexuality until you ended up having to leave because you didn't like the way you were being treated.
Anyway, Paul Spector is an intense, strangely fascinating character. The Fall is a psychological thriller. There's a lot of focus on the characters and why they do the things they do, and how they try to manipulate each other. Gibson and Spector play a very slow and deliberate cat and mouse game. Both of them are very human and flawed characters. Gibson is not a perfect hero that never does anything wrong. Her personal world is complicated, and she has to deal with a lot of things that her male counterparts don't. Season 1 of The Fall is all about establishing the characters and taking us through the crime. Season 2 is more about detective work. It's almost as if Paul is the main character of season 1 and Stella is the main character of season 2. I thought the performances in the show were good, especially Gillian Anderson as Stella, but I do feel it's important to say that it's all very low-key, and I think that is what makes it feel so real. I've heard some complaints about the acting in the show looking stiff and not emotional enough, but I think that just might be compared to other TV shows. Beyond that, and feel free to chime in on this one, but I do think that's part of the difference between American and UK demeanors. I personally didn't feel that the acting was stiff. I felt that this is just how this character behaves. For example, Stella Gibson by Gillian Anderson is a very restrained person. I thought that she did a fantastic job in portraying that. The story in The Fall focuses heavily on Paul and Stella, but there are a few side stories. The side stories that give us insight about someone, main character or supporting, were great and necessary and interesting. Every now and then the story does feel like it goes a little bit off track about something that might be a little bit too far removed from the main story, and because this story does unfold slowly and deliberately, any unnecessary distraction from it just makes it harder to kind of lose yourself in the show. Personally, I enjoyed The Fall. I'm very much looking forward to season 3, which is supposed to drop sometime this year. Season 2 is a little bit less eventful from season 1, but I still liked it better. The show makes some statements and observations about the human condition and gender equality and sexuality that I found kind of moving and thought-provoking. I did feel that I have to be in the mood though, in the mood for a heavy, dark, and slow show. Every season is only 6 episodes long, but it still took me a while to get through this show. I do think that I would have enjoyed it much less if I didn't watch both seasons as one thing. Bottom line, should you watch it? The Fall tells a fascinating story, but it's the type of storytelling here that will determine if you're going to enjoy this show or not. For example, my wife watched the first season with me. She enjoyed the story, she thought it was super interesting, but the show was just too slow and heavy for her. She got bored. I also took a break between season 1 and season 2, so while I don't think the show has any pacing issues, I think it's a gripping and disturbing story that's meant to unravel slowly. I do think you should consider the pace of the show when deciding whether to watch it or not. For me, it was worth it. I hope any of that made sense. What about you? What did you think of The Fall? Was Gillian Anderson awesome? The answer is yes. Is she also awesome in the X-Files revival? I guess the truth is out there? That was bad. If we're going to be talking about spoilers, please use spoiler tags in your comments. Remember, you can go to bingewatchers.space/vote and vote on what gets reviewed next on this channel. And if you're finding Binge Watchers for the first time, welcome! I'd like to invite you to join the Binge Watchers community and subscribe to the channel. Come talk about TV with us. It's a lot of fun. But in any case, keep binging, and I will see you next time.